Hello YouTube, Morkez Marihser here. I'm writing this during the mid-season break of Death Battle Season 7. It's okay so far. Some highs like Cable Booster, some disappointments like Kenobi Kakashi, and some unexpected fun like Genos Rhodey. No comment on Goro Machamp. I haven't done content like this before, but seeing so many people give their own takes out there and, well, I don't know, why not take some time I happen to have and give it a shot of my own? You've probably read the title by now, so let me skip straight into some ground rules. Number 1, nothing confirmed. No Galactus, no Alucard, no Beerus. I have nothing to weigh in on those, but if you must know, Galactus defeats Unicron, I have no idea between Alucard and Dio, and if Beerus fights Arceus, we're gonna have a problem. Number 2, these are my opinions. I did some partial research to decide who would win them, but I wanted to assemble this quickly and concisely, so nothing truly definitive. If my conclusions are wrong, so be it. Number 3. I'm placing a limit to only use Marvel or DC 3 times here, and Marvel vs. DC once. They're inevitable sometimes, and I do know both companies fairly well, but with their abundant prominence in this series, I'll be fair. Some of these ideas I've seen in wikis and videos, others are of my own making. They're also not necessarily my top 10, I simply started with the ones I know I want and then added ones I figured I'd like later on. So, in no particular order, let's begin. Kratos vs. Spawn, Rematch. Let's start with the one episode I'd want to see them redo, just to get it out of the way. The 2 rematches so far, even respective to how everything was made at the time, were humongous improvements. And for all the flaws people point out in the Mario vs. Sonic rematch, I still feel the end result is the same and the ending logic is pretty sound. But I am not asking for a Link vs. Cloud rematch like most everyone else is. Frankly, I hear it too often. I considered my pick for their worst episode, Mega Man vs. Astro Boy, but that would be the last we ever see of Mega Man, and really it's not worth it. Akuma vs. Shang Tsung barely edged out, but I think the two deserve better opponents. Which landed me on Kratos vs. Spawn, and here we are. Far as who'd win, it's still probably going to be Spawn, but I really don't care either way, as this is a request to be entertained. Especially with a matchup that deserves much more spectacle. Misty Knight vs. Nathan Rad Spencer. Many of you are probably surprised that I matched up Spencer with this character instead of someone else from Marvel. Don't worry, I'll get to that later. For now, this is the Marvel vs. Capcom matchup I've wanted to see the most, and it's not even an A-list character on either side. I doubt many of you would want to see it, but they share a lot in common both when it comes to their unique metal arms and their combat backgrounds. Misty's kept pace with Calling Wing and Iron Fist sometimes, and that leads into a whole new discussion of skill. And Spencer? I mean, the guy's got some amazing endurance, you can't deny that. But who would win? I thought it over, and in the end, I'm gonna go with Misty Knight. It's somewhat close, and not all of it has to do with having the better metal arm, but she definitely takes this. Sly Cooper vs. Rouge the Bat. This was a community death battle, yes, but that doesn't instantly disqualify anything. I don't really have much to say on it, as I don't have too much attachment to Sly Cooper, but him fighting Rouge would make for a very interesting matchup with some pretty darn interesting personalities to showcase. They're on their own, fighting over a prize worthy of their skills, in the dark. We'd get some sneaky dynamic action all over the place, and the winner? Yeah, I can't really kid myself here. It's still Sly. I can't disagree with the podcast results here, and I've seen nothing to convince me otherwise. That's it. Moving on. Pokémon Battle Royale 2. Battle Royales in this series are pretty rare, and so far they've been... well, TMNT hasn't aged that well. Pokemon's still pretty good, and the Mega Man one is so close to being perfect, but that's neither here nor there. I knew I wanted to put at least one of them on the list, and one that's not too unreasonable. Man, if only we hadn't wasted Batman on Captain America and Black Panther. So instead, I'm asking for a continued tradition of the starter Pokemon. While Johto isn't exactly my favorite choice, I have more personal attachment to Sinnoh, I think it would be nice to work our way to the present. When we get to my favorite, I'm gonna root for Torterra, but in the meantime, for Ralligator. With decent coverage to its weaknesses, mostly Ice Fang I'll admit, The others can't really stand up to it for that long. Meganium at least wouldn't go down as quickly as Venusaur did, but it would still go down. Captain Kirk versus Han Solo. No, I'm not joking. I think that at their peaks, they'd be legitimately interesting combatants, and I even have a setting for you. Enterprise catches up to the Millennium Falcon hauling contraband. Solo refuses to surrender, Enterprise disables the engines, and Kirk and Spock beam on board with some red shirts. Something hits the Enterprise during the fight, and they can't beam back. No, I haven't written out the rest, but it would allow for a fight that stands out a lot from other death battles, and still ends up focusing on the main two by the end, and the weaponry they typically carry around. For a winner, I'm gonna say Kirk. He's simply better at winning unprepared surprises like these on his own, even if he ends up in sickbay afterwards. And most importantly, the banter. Oh god, the banter. Red Hood versus Winter Soldier. It's one of the most requested and... yeah, I can't deny it'd be fun, nor can I really think of anyone better for either to face. Sure, Jason could fight the Punisher. Sure, Bucky could fight Spencer. But I already mentioned Spencer earlier with someone who's a better fit. And there's a much greater discussion to be had with these two. Jason's more intelligent, Bucky's stronger. Jason's got better weapons, Bucky survived worse, it goes on. Really, the biggest difference is that Jason becomes more of a tool as time goes on, while Bucky can actually be interesting. And that's just a completely irrelevant dig at the writers I wanted to sneak in here. My bad. In all honesty, I give this one to the Winter Soldier. Red Hood beats opponents that are bigger, tougher, stronger, smarter, but rarely all at once, and rarely without some kind of backup like Batman or Starfire, or an escape plan. Sticking around to the death though, Bucky wins. Magolor vs Rosalina. I first ran into this matchup on one of the wikis, and I was surprised to see it, big time. Magolor, I know some of you are going to be shocked by this, is my favorite Kirby character. But who the hell could he face? He's got some ridiculous power with and without the Master Crown. Then I saw Rosalina, thought a bit to myself whether it would make sense, and... yeah, it somehow strangely does. Furthermore, despite a couple of feats by Rosalina's in Galaxy 1, he could actually win. Magolor can send out black holes. It took every Luma to stop one. That's just where it starts. There's tons of debate on things like Magolor's speed and just how strong a Luma is, but when I did some research on my own, I had to admit, I don't really see much Rosalina could do permanently against Magolor. Certainly not Magolor's soul. Remember, I'm matching up someone from the ridiculously powerful Mario series with the even more ridiculously powerful Kirby series. Magolor's soul might even be the second strongest villain in Kirby, topped only by certain forms of Void Termina. Rosalina can put up a great fight, don't get me wrong, but I don't think she can win. Diddy Kong versus Howard the Duck? Yeah? No, I'm not joking here either. I've been thinking about a decent matchup for Diddy Kong for a while now, and I have seen no one suggest this one. Reasonably so. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this is the exact kind of strange, weird thing we need for Diddy Kong. We've got fashionable animals that can pack heat, and are known for fighting some downright strange opponents from here to space. Sure, we might have to pull from Smash a little for Diddy Kong's arsenal, but I don't think that should be a big problem here. Oh, and speaking of problems, this has absolutely nothing to do with that George Lucas movie. Howard's an actual Marvel Comics character. He's fought and defeated demons in the strangest ways possible in between ducking responsibilities. He's got guns, he's got missiles, he's got bombs, he's even got a mech suit even if it doesn't work well. And he's certainly closer to Diddy than Rocket Raccoon is. Now, before you guys realize that I snuck a duck pun in there, I'm just gonna say that I feel Howard wins this one and move on. Good with that? I'm good. Stelar versus Max Steel. I feel like I'm the only one who has ever asked for this, but it is one I really want to see. I actually really like Max Steel, the 2014 show anyway, though I could point out every way it rips off Star Force, but I wouldn't want to bore you. Now, the rare times anyone actually mentions Geo, I've seen some arguments for Blue Beetle. And it's a decent alternative. But even if this would be a lot more one-sided than that, It's the kind of fight and mix of personalities that would be amazing to see on screen. I mean, come on, Axe Steel and Omegazis, trash-talking, that is my dream. But yeah, this is kind of a stomp, and in Geo's favor. Still, it would be fun, and if we got Beetle instead, I wouldn't be upset, and the trash talk between Jaime and Omegazis would still be pretty cool. I still say Geo wins, but it would be closer. And now for my top pick overall, Ridley vs Rayquaza. I've thought through this one over and over and over, and I just can't remain unhyped with the potential this one offers. Two of the most ferocious space dragons in gaming make for the single most obvious mashup that hasn't happened so far in my opinion. I needn't go into why this one would be exciting, instead I'll focus on who would win. I've got this old script I made that had some calculations and they're probably obsolete, but looking at a lot of other people, I'm gonna have to go ever so slightly against the grain here and say that Rayquaza takes the win. Don't get me wrong, Ridley can be faster, and in an aerial fight, that's not insignificant. But he's not stronger, and he's certainly a bit easier to kill once you can hit him, compared to Rayquaza at least. Rayquaza is also really fast and surprisingly dexterous, and despite the tiny arms, cue that clip from Meet the Robinsons, it makes a huge difference when all you need to do is literally clip Ridley's wings. Plus, a Mega Evolution that can be triggered without human interaction is kind of a big deal. And if that form is considered inaccessible because Rayquaza does not learn Dragon Ascent via level up, the same argument can be made for a lot of Ridley's strongest forms like Meta and Omega. While Ridley is really fast and vicious, I don't see him pulling out the win in either of the two scenarios. It's gonna be close. Certainly closer without the additional forms. But I think the sky-high Pokémon wins the day. So, do you disagree with my results? Are there any characters who you think would be better matchups for any of my ideas? Are there any ideas you want that have nothing to do with anything I've said? Be specific in the comments and let me know. This is Morkez Marihser, signing off.